The first patch since the launch of Season 7 is here. I was just about to release a tank tier list video, but now I'm gonna have to rework that. Thanks, Blizzard. Anyways, let's get right into the changes. For D.Va, her movement speed penalty while using fusion cannons has been reduced from 40 to 30%, and her micro missiles projectile speed has been increased from 40 to 50. This will allow D.Va to move quicker while using her primary fire, which will help her be more aggressive when chasing down players. Supports received a pretty sizable nerf this patch, which will most likely buff dive playstyles, so I think D.Va is about to become pretty strong. For Doomfist, the minimum wall stun duration on his rocket punch has been decreased from 0.25 to 0.15, and the maximum wall stun duration has been decreased from 0.75 to 0.6. I don't know if non-Doom players will realize how big of a nerf this is. Most of the time, Doomfist is only barely able to confirm kills with a full powered punch because it typically takes 2 shots to finish off an enemy. Now there won't be enough time to line that second shot up, so the number of times Doomfist won't be able to confirm a kill will definitely increase. As a Doomfist player myself, I am in immense pain and will need time to cope with this loss. Please send positive comments my way because I am immensely depressed. For Winston, his Tesla cannon's secondary fire range has increased from 30 to 40 meters. This is a really small buff that honestly doesn't make much sense to me because who was using his secondary fire as a sniper anyways? I guess it could help him gain ult charge a tiny bit faster because you'll land maybe 2 extra shots per ultimate cycle with the increased range, but I don't know, even that seems like a stretch. That's it for tanks, meaning Orisa and Zarya aren't getting nerfed. How wonderful! Fortunately, the damage nerfs are actually pretty good, so let's get right into that. For Bastion, the configuration assault cooldown time has been increased from 10 to 12 seconds, and his weapon spread while in that form has been increased 10%. This was definitely needed because in this meta of high healing output, Bastion has become extremely powerful. This nerf will allow tanks like Reinhardt to be able to find more windows of downtime to be more aggressive in. At 10 seconds, playing Ryan into Bastion was basically impossible, but now I think it's at least somewhat viable. Good change. For Cassidy, the cooldown time for his magnetic grenade has been increased from 10 to 12 seconds. This is really great for dive characters because similar to Bastion, there's now going to be more windows of opportunity to make plays in without having to worry about getting magnated. Another W change. Good job, devs. For Mei, the slow effect on her endothermic blaster has been decreased from 40 to 30%. This is really funny because when they reverted Mei in the last patch, I literally talked about how they accidentally made her slow effect stronger than before, even though their goal with the revert was to nerf her CC abilities. It seems like they recognized that mistake and are now properly nerfing her CC, which is good. For Sombra, her ultimate cost got decreased 10%. This makes sense because Sombra is currently underperforming after her rework. However, I feel like this is partially because of how strong supports and damage characters were in the last patch. In this patch, it almost feels like Sombra is getting a double buff because a lot of her competition is getting weaker while she's getting stronger. This will likely bump Sombra up a tier in terms of viability, so be on the lookout for her. For Symmetra, her base shield health has been reduced from 125 to 100, making her total health 200. This nerf gives Symmetra a weakness that tanks can more easily exploit. Prior to this, she had both extremely high damage and higher health than other DPS characters. This was an unfair combination that made brawling against her a nightmare for characters like Reinhardt and D.Va. Now with that health nerf, Symmetra will have to be more careful about her engagements and will actually fear running up to tanks, which I think is healthier for the game. For Widowmaker, the amount of unscoped shots to reach maximum spread has been increased from 3 to 7, and her ultimate cost has been reduced 10%. I can understand the buff to her unscoped accuracy because it'll help her deal with flankers a bit better, but I don't think reducing her ultimate cost is a good move. Now it might feel like she's getting it every fight, which will make flanking against a Widow much more difficult. We'll have to see how this plays out after some more time testing out the patch, but I think this might be pretty annoying to play against. And that's all for the DPS characters. I think the changes were great overall and represent a scaling back of power. The nerfs they implemented directly help tank players, which has been much needed for a while now. On that note, let's get into the support changes. For Ana, her biotic grenade cooldown has been increased from 10 to 12 seconds. Like I've been saying for previous cooldown nerfs, this gives players larger windows of opportunity to engage on Ana while she's on cooldown. Because of this, Ana players will have to think harder about using their grenade offensively, which will make getting antied less common in this patch. Overall, this is a healthy change for the game. Up next, Baptiste and Illari both got very similar nerfs. Starting with Baptiste, his immortality field's health has been decreased from 150 to 125, and its cooldown has been increased from 23 to 25 seconds. For Illari, Healing Pylon got a health nerf from 125 to 100, and the cooldown was increased from 12 to 15 seconds when destroyed. Illari's Pylon will now die to a single Junkrat grenade in Pharah Rocket, and both Pylon and Immortality Field will be more easily breakable by tanks. In my experience, shooting Pylon as Doomfist sometimes took more than 4 shots because it was always placed somewhat high up on walls, so destroying it while on the flank took up tons of time. At 100 health, it'll be much easier to break within 4 shots, which means Doom players won't have to wait for that 5th shot to reload before killing it. Outside of just Doomfist, this will help quicken the pace of the game and weaken the slow defensive style we had in the last patch. Also, Illari's solar rifle projectile size has been decreased from 0.1 to 0.05 meters, which will overall lower her damage because on average you're going to be hitting less shots than before. For Kiriko, Protection Suzu's cooldown has been increased from 14 to 15 seconds. On paper, this is a nerf, but compared to Ana's cooldown nerf, this change is less significant. The difference between Suzu and Biotic Grenade's cooldown in the previous patch was 4 seconds, but now it's 3 seconds. So, what does this mean? Well, if you're using Suzu specifically to cleanse anti-nade, this is actually a buff for Suzu. In the previous patch, if Kiriko used cleanse right after Ana used anti-nade, Ana would receive her next nade about 4 seconds quicker than Kiriko's next Suzu, meaning there was a 4-second window for Ana to anti-Kiriko before she could cleanse it. In this patch, this window has been decreased to 3 seconds. This means that mathematically, Kiriko will be able to cleanse the next Ana nade quicker even with a longer cooldown. Obviously, this is still a nerf for Kiriko, but it's interesting how that specific aspect of Suzu has actually gotten buffed in this patch. Lifeweaver received a ton of nerfs this patch, which were definitely needed. Healing Blossom's ammo has been reduced from 20 to 16, and the maximum heal has been reduced from 75 to 70. Additionally, Life Grip's cooldown has been increased from 16 to 19 seconds. Lifeweaver has felt like the easiest support to play for a long time now. Decreasing his healing and the uptime of Life Grip adds punishable parts of his kit that were definitely lacking beforehand, so I'm really happy for this change. And finally, we have some changes to Zenyatta. Zenyatta's base health has been increased from 200 to 225. His Harmony Orb's time to wear off when not in line of sight has been increased from 3 to 5 seconds, and Orb of Discord can no longer be reapplied to the same target for 7 seconds after the effect has been removed. Additionally, the range has also been increased from 30 to 40 meters. Tank Zenyatta is back. In the second beta of Overwatch 2, Zen had 225 health and it instantly made him an S tier pick. Because of power creep, I'm not certain he'll instantly be S tier again just because of that, but we'll have to find out. Anyways, I'm a massive fan of the Discord orb change because now tanks won't be the only target of orb, which has been a problem since the launch of the game. This adds extra skill to Zen because he'll have to decide on the fly who the second best target of orb is after it wears off on the tank. Overall, I'm really happy with this patch, even with the Doomfist nerfs. The support nerfs directly nerf the annoying, almost bunker-style team comps we had in the last patch, and should speed up the game a bit. I think Winston and Reinhardt will become much more viable this patch because of the change in pace of the game. Both of them will be able to wait out important cooldowns and rush in during those longer windows of vulnerability. When I update my tank tier list and finally post it, I'll be sure to include a portion where I talk about the health of the game after I spend more time playing this patch, so subscribe if you want to hear if my opinions changed in about a week or so. Thanks for watching and have a good day. Peace.